This is Golden Delanoy, frontrunner and founder of Authors of the Game LLC, located in sunny Southern California. I'm the author of the game because I've mastered it. What I'm asking you to do is to take your time and pay attention and learn the lessons and the blessings of Slim Sir on this podcast. I want you to share this on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or any social media outlet. So this way, you can obtain the correct knowledge that can be beneficial for your life. With this being said, game bless, God bless.
Welcome to episode number 14 of Enlightened Game. My name is Slim Sir, and this is a audio notebook and a therapy session for myself to get certain ideas out of my head and certain frustrations off of my chest and off of my conscience. Now, today I want to talk to you, to the brothers. And before I start, I don't want you to get emotional. I don't want you to think I'm coming at you. I really just want to have a talk with you from a brother to a brother. And the reason why I want to have this talk with you is because a lot of times this talk hasn't been given to us. Should have been given to us by our fathers or by someone older. But a lot of times we didn't get this talk. So when we grow up, the talk is supposed to be the birds and the bees. This is the conversation we're supposed to get. But we never get this conversation, and if we did, it was so fucking stupid, it didn't make any sense. Now today I want to give you not the birds and the bees per se, but the basics of this game. And the basics of this game begins with the knowledge of yourself, who you are as a man. Who you are as a man determines the course of your life, and it also determines the degree of the type of relationship you'll have with other people. A lot of times our lives are fucked up because we feel fucked up about ourselves, because we see ourselves as fucked up. The purpose of Game Organized and Legal is to not condemn the brother that's on the street, but just to show him the game and to encourage him to elevate his game. That's all. Just because we're screaming Game Organized and Legal doesn't mean that we're condemning you for what you're doing. Or to any of the ladies. We're not condemning you for what you're doing. We just want you to be aware of what the laws are, where the trends are heading, and to make you aware that the game is a lot bigger than the track. The game is a lot bigger than the internet. And there are ways to make money, tons of money, legally, and still represent the ism. And that's all we're saying. Now, in order to elevate your game, you have to elevate your mind. And you have to begin now to start thinking outside of the box of the track or the box of the traditional way things have been. Now, a lot of so-called P's in the game, they're going to be upset at this because they're going to say, that's not the way the game goes. But in reality, they need to shut the fuck up. And here's why. Because if you understand real game, you understand that a principle of the game is advancement. And so that doesn't just pertain to the individual player or players. It also applies to the game itself. And if advancement is a principle of the game, then the game must advance. And so when we think about the game, we think about on its most base level, the track. But if that is a part of the game, then even the track has to elevate, and we have to elevate from the track. I like to give the analogy that this is a game, and in every game there are levels, and you begin at the bottom level, but the objective of the game is to move higher and advance and progress to higher levels of the game. There's levels to this shit, levels to the game. So when someone says, oh, you're not really pimping if you're not on the track, what they're really saying to you is, hey, look, I'm on level number 1, and that's all I want to do. You see, when you only acknowledge level number 1, there's no sense of even playing the fucking game if there's only one level. There's no sense in playing the game if there's only one level. What happens when you finish level 1? You go back to level 1. There's no advancement in that. That's how you know that that's not real game. If advancement is a principle of the game and you see no advancement in something, that means that that's not game. No matter what anybody says about it, that's not game, because the principle of advancement cannot be applied to it. Really just that simple. So when you see a brother or a sister that's coming up from the track doing bigger and better things, rather than say that they're not real, you should congratulate them for graduating to the next level of the game. I like to bring up Cardi B. I'm so proud of Cardi B. She shows and proves beyond a shadow of a doubt it's not where you start, but it's where you finish. She started in the club, and I saw videos where she even said herself she was selling her services for, I think, $60. And now look at her. She's a multi-millionaire platinum selling artist. That is amazing. Okay? And that shows and proves that it's it's not where you start, it's where you finish. Right? And so it's okay if you're starting at that level of the game. I'm not condemning you. What I will encourage you to do, though, is to start thinking, at the very least, about advancing to the next level. Because that's the only way you're really winning. If you stay on one level, on level number 1, you can't possibly say that you're winning the game. Because the whole point of the game is to advance to higher levels. If you stay on level number 1, you're not advancing to higher levels. Therefore, you can't even say that you're a winner. You understand? That makes no sense. The only time you can legitimately say that you are winning the game is when you are advancing from one level to the other. You see? You're not winning the game if you're downgrading or going backwards. And you're not winning the game if you're standing still. Because the purpose of the game is advancement. The game is no different than life itself. The purpose of life is advancement and progress. In science, they call it evolution. Same principle, same thing. The purpose of the game is to advance. Now, as a man, the knowledge of yourself is that you as a man, me as a man, our nature is that we are logical. The nature of a woman is that she is emotional. Okay? Those are our natures. But the nature of life itself is advancement. So this teaches us that as a man, you are logical, right? Reasonable, or should be, logical and reasonable, and you should be advancing your logic and reasoning power and ability. You should be growing your logic and your reasoning power. This means that if you're a real player in this game, you are constantly learning. In the game, they say the best leaders are the best students. You see? So when you ever hear me talk, you always hear me say that I am a student of the game. Yeah, I teach, but I like to think of myself as a teacher student, always going to be a student of the game. Okay? So your nature is logical, and her nature, the nature of a woman, is emotional. Now, you say, all right, I'm logical, and she's emotional, therefore I don't have any emotion. Well, no, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. She, the woman, is a representation of what's inside of you. And here's why. The right side of your brain is creative and emotional, feminine side. The left side of your brain is mathematical, logical, reasonable, and masculine. If you only had the left side of your brain, which is logical, and you cut out the right side of your brain, you would not have a fully functioning brain. You need both sides to be working in unison in order for you to be a stable and balanced person. That makes sense? So in a relationship, if it's all masculine, right, and there's no balance, then you have an imbalanced relationship. Now, the immature mind is going to say, well, that sounds like you're saying that a man and a woman should be equal or harmonious or balanced or whatever. Equal is probably the word they would use. And that is true. You need balance. Harmony is a principle of nature. But just because you are balanced and have equal but different responsibilities doesn't mean or make you less than a leader. Do you understand that? Like, your nature is to lead. It's logical. Logic must protect emotion. If logic doesn't protect emotion, you're an emotional wreck. So logic must be out in front of emotion in order for you to be a healthy and stable-minded person. This just makes sense. The logic being masculine and emotion being feminine, this gives sign and proof that it is a man's job to stand out in front of, protect, and lead, guide, and teach the woman that not just stands behind him, but propels him forward. Now, the male-female relationship is, remember, the male is logical, the female is emotional. This is symbolic to the sperm. The sperm is made up of two sides, a head and a tail. The head represents logic, the tail is motion. It moves the head to the egg. You see? Now you put an E in front of that motion, and now you have emotion. So you see the two principles at work. But they must be working in balance, in harmony together to get to the egg. And this is true in life. Anyway, I only got 30 seconds left. And this is time for my shameless plug. When you get a second, I want you ladies to go over to Amazon and purchase a copy of my book, The Rules. And if you're a dude, go to Amazon and get a copy of the book, Glory to the Game. And if you have a moment, could you go to Cash App and drop me a few bucks? Peace.